Imagine standing on the edge of a warm tropical coastline 66 million years ago. The air is thick with humidity, carrying the scent of flowering plants and ancient forests. Giant dragonflies drift lazily above shallow rivers. Small mammals scurry through the undergrowth, careful not to attract attention. Overhead, enormous flying reptiles glide effortlessly across the sky, while herds of dinosaurs move through endless plains that stretch beyond the horizon. To every living creature on Earth, this is just another ordinary morning. The sun rises exactly where it always has. Rivers continue flowing toward the sea. Forests echo with familiar sounds. Predators begin their daily hunt while massive herbivores wander peacefully in search of fresh vegetation. No one knows that this beautiful world has less than a single day left. Far beyond the blue sky, farther than the moon could ever appear, an invisible traveler has been racing toward Earth for millions of years. It has no eyes. It makes no sound. It carries no warning. Yet hidden inside this single object is enough destructive energy to erase 3/4 of all life on the planet. This is the story of the day Earth burned. Long before humans walked the planet, the Earth belonged to the dinosaurs. For over 160 million years, they ruled nearly every environment imaginable. Towering titanosaurs browsed from the tops of ancient forests. Horned dinosaurs defended themselves against powerful predators. Duck-billed dinosaurs gathered in enormous migrating herds, numbering in the thousands. Fearsome tyrannosaurs stood at the top of the food chain, their senses so refined that few animals could escape once detected. The oceans were ruled by giant marine reptiles, while the skies belonged to creatures with wings wider than a modern airplane. Life had reached an extraordinary balance. Flowering plants had spread across the continents. Insects pollinated colorful blossoms. Birds, newly evolved from feathered dinosaurs, filled the forests with calls that sounded strangely familiar to modern ears. Small, furry mammals lived mostly at night, avoiding the giants that dominated daylight. To them, survival meant staying unnoticed. Few could imagine that these tiny creatures would someday inherit the Earth. The planet itself looked different. Sea levels were much higher than today. Much of North America was split into two enormous landmasses by a vast inland sea. Dense forests covered much of Europe. The climate was warm almost everywhere. Even the polar regions supported forests instead of ice sheets. There were no frozen continents, no glaciers, no Arctic ice. Earth was a greenhouse world filled with life. But somewhere between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter, something had already begun that would change everything. Millions of rocky bodies circled the sun inside a region astronomers now call the asteroid belt. Most of these objects remained safely locked in stable orbits, endlessly circling our star without disturbing the planets. Occasionally, however, gravity intervened. The enormous pull of Jupiter acted like a giant cosmic shepherd. Tiny gravitational nudges accumulated over millions of years. Eventually, one enormous asteroid drifted into an unstable orbit. At first, its path changed only slightly, but in space, even the smallest change can become enormous given enough time. Orbit after orbit, century after century, the asteroid slowly wandered closer to the inner solar system. It wasn't aiming for Earth. Space doesn't work that way. It simply happened to arrive at the exact place where our planet would be. The odds were unimaginably small. Yet they became reality. Scientists estimate the asteroid measured roughly 12 kilometers across, about the width of a major city. That may not sound enormous compared to mountains. But size alone wasn't what made it dangerous. Speed was. Traveling at nearly 20 kilometers every second, it crossed the distance from New York to Los Angeles in less than 4 minutes. Nothing built by humans has ever moved so fast through Earth's atmosphere. As it approached, Earth's gravity pulled harder and harder. Its speed increased even further. The collision was no longer avoidable. Somewhere on the surface, the dinosaurs continued eating. Birds continued flying. Insects buzzed between flowers. Predators stalked prey. Parents cared for their young. Life continued exactly as it always had. The asteroid was still invisible. Hours before impact, the object crossed the orbit of the moon. Had anyone existed to watch, they would have seen only a brilliant point of light growing steadily brighter against the darkness of space. Within minutes, it entered Earth's atmosphere. The air in front of the asteroid had no air to escape. Instead, it compressed violently. That compression heated the surrounding gases until they glowed brighter than molten metal. The asteroid itself became wrapped inside an expanding shell of plasma, hotter than the surface of the sun. Across thousands of kilometers, animals may have noticed something strange. The sky suddenly brightened, not because of sunrise, but because an entirely new star had appeared overhead. For only a few terrifying seconds, it outshone the sun itself. Then, it disappeared beyond the horizon. Its destination lay beneath the shallow tropical waters, near what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. At that moment, the region was a paradise. Warm seas teemed with fish. Coral reefs flourished beneath crystal-clear water. Mangrove forests lined the coastline. Everything was alive. Everything was about to change. The asteroid struck with unimaginable violence, not like an earthquake, not like a volcano. Nothing in human history comes remotely close. In less than a second, nearly every molecule of rock directly beneath the impact point vaporized. Solid limestone exploded into superheated gas. Water flashed instantly into steam. The asteroid itself disappeared completely. The energy released has been estimated at roughly 10 billion Hiroshima-sized atomic bombs. The ground did not simply crack. It behaved like liquid. Rock flowed outward in colossal waves. Mountains rose and collapsed within minutes. A crater nearly 180 kilometers wide began forming almost instantly. The shock wave raced across the continent faster than the speed of sound. Everything within hundreds of kilometers ceased to exist. There were no survivors. But the destruction was only beginning. The true catastrophe had just been launched into the sky. Millions of tons of molten rock were blasted beyond the atmosphere itself. Within minutes, they would begin falling back toward Earth. And when they did, the entire planet would catch fire.